Hello, today is the 21st of November 2024. I'm Nora Dempsey from Institut Nail, a CNRS laboratory in Grenoble, France. And so today it's my great pleasure to interview Dr. Masato Sagawa in the framework of the IEEE Magnetic Society Oral History Project. So a little over 40 years ago, Masato discovered a new permanent magnet based on the neodymium-2 iron-14 boron high anisotropy phase. And after his discovery, he dedicated his career to continuously improving the processing of magnets, of sintered magnets based on this, and therefore improving the extrinsic properties of these materials. These magnets are used in very many applications. They're key components for the green energy transition, and we'll hear a little bit more about this later. And the aim of this interview is to get an insight into the man behind the magnet. So we'll begin by talking about your early life and education. So can you please state your full name, the date and place of your birth?
Okay, I am Masato Sagawa. I was born on August 3rd, 1943 in Tokushima, Japan.
So can you tell me about the educational background and the occupation of your parents, please?
Okay, after the war, my father and mother ran a retail store selling groceries and general merchandise. The store was thriving and our family was financially well off. I have two siblings, a sister who is 4 years younger than me and a brother who is 12 years younger than me. My father and mother only received a standard education for the time and did not go to college. However, they were enthusiastic about their children's education, and they always encouraged me when they saw me studying at home after school.
Okay, so how was school for you, and what were your favorite subjects?
I studied well, living up to my parents' expectations. I had a good relationship with my homeroom teacher and many good friends in class. My favorite subjects were math and science. I wasn't very good at music and art. I loved physical education.
Okay, and so what were your childhood hobbies and interests?
Okay, from kindergarten to the early years of elementary school, I look forward to my father reading the newspaper to me every day. My father told me that when I was in kindergarten, he read me the article about Hideki Yukawa winning the Nobel Prize. And I said, I'm going to win a Nobel Prize too. Another memorable experience was when my father read me a picture story called Kenya the Boy, which was serialized in the newspaper. My favorite pastime as an elementary school student was visiting my parents' home on both my father's and mother's sides. I remember picking crumbs on the bank of Yoshino River and eating lunch boxes made by my grandmother.
Okay, and were there any particular people or events from your childhood that sparked your interest in science and technology?
Okay, when I was a child, Japan was in the era of high economic growth and industry was developing rapidly. Most of the children who were good at studying wanted to study science. I felt that both my parents and teachers at the school were happy and supported me because I wanted to study science. In that environment, I naturally grew up as a child who wanted to study science. The news that Professor Yukawa won the Nobel Prize always stayed in my mind, and I wanted to be a scientist when I grew up.
So now let's talk about your higher education. So to begin with, what was the field of your bachelor's degree and where did you carry it out?
Okay, I took the entrance exam for the Department of Electrical Engineering at Kobe University, Faculty of Engineering, on the recommendation of my high school teacher and was accepted. I studied electrical engineering as hard as I could for 4 years after entering university, but I didn't want to make it my life's work.
Okay, and then so the same question for your master's.
Okay, I went on to a master's degree in the same electrical engineering department at the same university, but chose to join an applied physics lab and got admitted there. This lab was researching the structure of solid surfaces and the early stages of crystal growth. I joined this research and fell in love with it.
Okay, and then from which university did you get your PhD degree and what was the topic of your research project?
Okay, I went on to a doctoral course in metallurgical engineering at Tohoku University and chose a laboratory that studied metal corrosion and corrosion prevention. As an application of my master's course research, I chose research on the early stages of corrosion on metal surfaces as the topic of my doctoral thesis. The laboratory I belonged to was located in the Institute for Material Research at Tohoku University. At this institute, I tried to expand my repertoire of material research by participating in seminars and discussing with researchers not only in my own laboratory but also in several other laboratories. However, my research did not go well and it took me 4 years to finally get my doctorate. The contents of my doctoral thesis were not published in any journal and were not well evaluated. Although I received my PhD in engineering, I lacked the confidence to go out into society and make a living as a researcher.
Okay, well, I really appreciate your frank and honest answer. And I think it's a very important message to students that, you know, a PhD is a challenge and it doesn't necessarily work out as we expect. And in the end, it's the process which counts more than the, you know, the actual results which are obtained. So this brings me on to my next question. So upon graduation, was it obvious that you would go work in industry, or were you tempted to stay in academia?
Okay, I wanted to stay in academia, but I couldn't find a position at any university or institute. I reluctantly decided to work at Fujitsu laboratories through the introduction of my supervisor. At that time, I thought that my dream of winning the Nobel Prize like Professor Yukawa, which I had in kindergarten, had disappeared.
Okay, so again, I really appreciate your forthright response. Okay, so now let's discuss your working life. So can you please briefly describe the background to your discovery of neodymium iron boron sintered magnets, including the bold move you made in moving or resigning from Fujitsu Labs and joining Sumitomo Special Metals?
Okay. At Fujitsu Laboratories, I was assigned to a laboratory that developed magnetic materials for electronic components. There, I joined a team that developed magnetic wire for use in reed switches. During my 5 years with this team, I studied magnetic physics and became familiar with various practical magnetic materials. I was given the opportunity to study the mechanism of magnetization reversal for the semi-hard magnetic wire that this team was developing and present the result of my research at an academic conference. I became immersed in the research of magnetic materials. In my 6th year at Fujitsu, I was given the theme of developing a samarium cobalt magnet with high mechanical strength. While working on this research, I wondered why rare earth magnets must be rare earth cobalt compounds. And so every day after work hours, I began to conduct thought experiments on rare earth iron compound magnets. One day I got a hint at a symposium titled From the Fundamentals to Applications of Rare Earth Magnets. The first speaker, Masaaki Hamano, explained that the reason rare earth iron compound cannot be used as practical magnets is because the iron-iron interatomic distance in the compound is too small. At that time, I had the idea that if that's the case, then I should alloy C and B, carbon and boron, into the rare earth iron compound. The research on improving the mechanical strength of samarium cobalt magnets achieved its goal. As the next topic, I proposed research on rare earth iron carbon and rare earth iron boron magnets, but it was not accepted. So I proposed research on the application of spin reorientation in neodymium cobalt file, which was accepted. This research produced results in 2 years, so I presented it at an international conference and finished it. In 1981, I was promoted to a management position and no longer had much time for research. After work, I continued to explore the possibilities of rare earth iron carbon and rare earth iron boron magnet through thought experiments. Through my research on neodymium cobalt 5, neodymium had become a familiar element to me. I began to think about the possibilities of neodymium iron carbon and neodymium iron boron magnet. Then, through a simple experiment, I realized that neodymium iron boron was more promising. I decided to propose this idea of neodymium iron boron magnets to Sumitomo Special Metals, a magnet manufacturer. I proposed the idea of neodymium iron boron magnets to Sumitomo in early 1982. The president of Sumitomo said he would provide as many staffs and as much research funds as I needed for my research. I decided to join Sumitomo.
Okay, and so can you remember how you felt, the first time you actually measured a high energy product loop on the neodymium iron boron sintered magnet?
Okay. Immediately after joining Sumitomo, I showed the hastily assembled research team about 50 different compositions that I had in my head as ideas for neodymium iron boron magnets, and we started making sintered magnets. Among those 50 types of magnets, we found the world's strongest magnet. At that time, I and the other members of my research team jumped for joy.
And I can just imagine how exciting it must have been for you to present these results to the international community. In particular, when you made the announcement at the MMM conference in Pittsburgh in 1983, and the chairman of the session was no other than Karl Stronach, who had actually discovered and developed the first rare earth magnets based on the samarium cobalt system. So which of your personality traits contributed most to your discovery and development of neodymium iron boron magnets?
I think for myself, without being bound by authority. I can think continuously all day long. I can do experiments in my head. I always try to verify what I think in my head through actual experiments. Creating new materials through research has always been at the center of my life.
Okay, thank you. And maybe can you tell us some memories of some of the colleagues that worked with you on your quest to improve, to better understand and improve the performance of neodymium iron boron sintered magnets?
It's safe to say that the first sample of neodymium iron boron sintered magnets came from my head alone. However, the subsequent industrialization research of this magnet was conducted by a team at SSM led by me. This team also focused on basic research. In basic research, I respected the autonomy of my team members and allowed them to conduct their research freely. These members include Hitoshi Yamamoto, Yutaka Matsuura, and Satoshi Hirosawa. Among them, Dr. Hirosawa used his experience in a full-scale magnetic physics laboratory to enable my team to achieve results in basic research. In this way, my team was able to industrialize neodymium iron boron sintered magnet in a short period of time and achieved great results in basic research.
So you left Sumitomo Special Metals after 6 very productive years to establish the Intermetallics company. So can you tell me what was your motivation for this move?
Okay. From the beginning, when I joined Sumitomo, I had conflict with my direct superior. It grew stronger than day by day and reached a limit, so I left the company with the consent of the president and vice president and established Intermetallics company. For the next 20 years, I received financial support from Sumitomo. As Intermetallics company, I signed advisory contract with magnet manufacturers and rare earth raw materials manufacturers around the world, such as Ujima, Neoreum, Sumitomo Light Metals, and Showa Denko, and contributed to the development of the neodymium iron boron sintered magnets related industry.
So it's no exaggeration to say that the emergence of neodymium iron boron magnets has truly revolutionized the design of devices that use them. So can you say a few words about the main applications of neodymium iron boron sintered magnets today?
Okay. Neodymium iron boron magnets have miniaturized hard disk drives so that they can fit into personal computers, helping bring about the arrival of the information society. They have greatly improved the efficiency of air conditioners, making life more comfortable for people around the world. And they are used in EVs and wind turbines, contributing to preventing global warming.
So you have received a lot of prestigious awards for your discovery and development of neodymium iron boron sintered magnets. So can you tell us what this has meant to you?
Okay, I am happy that my child childhood dream of becoming a scientist has come true. Strangely enough, that happiness does not increase with each major award I receive, but rather I have become more aware of my responsibility to convey to young people how wonderful it is to be a scientist.
Indeed, indeed. And now this interview is being carried out in the framework of the IEEE Magnetic Society Oral History Project, and indeed you won the 2022 IEEE Medal for Environmental and Safety Technologies. So this is something that was jointly awarded to you and Dr. John Croat, who discovered independently the neodymium-iron-boron phase when working with the rapid quenching approach. So have you had any other interactions, or have you had any direct interactions with the IEEE Magnetic Society?
Okay, I was always conscious of my involvement with the IEEE Magnetic Society when I participated in Intermag many times. Also, when I received the IEEE Medal for Environment and Safety Technologies, I donated the entire amount of the prize money because I wanted it to be used for the activities of the IEEE Magnetic Society.
Okay, so how do you see the future evolution of permanent magnets and the respective roles of industry and academia in magnet-related research?
Okay, I would like you to use AI and high-throughput research methods to develop new high-performance magnets that surpass sintered neodymium-boron magnets. It is difficult to develop a completely new magnet in a company's research lab. I invented a new magnet in a company's research lab, which is an exception. In general, I think that companies can only research improvement. I expect further evolution of permanent magnets to come from academic researchers.
Okay, so you mentioned AI, and indeed there are many groups around the world working and using AI for analyzing high throughput data sets, either coming from computation or experiments, but also from mining of existing literature. I think it has a lot of potential, but it remains to be seen, can we actually design or discover a truly new hard magnetic material with this. So let's be optimistic. So what would your advice be to young people starting out in a career in research today?
Okay, go to graduate school to fully master the basics of science and technology before entering society. Then, whether in a company or in academia, get included in an existing research team at first and become an expert in the research field that the research team covers. And the important thing is to always make an effort to find your own original research team based on the experience and knowledge you have in that team. Use the free time you are given to consider that research team. Conduct preliminary experiments and preliminary calculations and find the seeds of a new research field. Then, when you are confident that the seeds of that research field are promising, apply to the head of your company or organization to have it recognized as a regular research team and proceed with the research. I try to find a by thinking about what will be needed in 10 years in the research field I am involved in. You may think that you can't come up with any ideas for the future in a research field you have only just joined. However, there are many things that you don't notice because you have become too much of an expert. My idea for rare earth iron ball magnets is an example of this. I was more of a beginner, and the experts did not notice at all.
Well, this is great advice. And coming back to your first point, it's obvious that we can't outsource the development of permanent magnets to AI. And it's extremely important that the vast amount of knowledge concerning the basic physics and metallurgy that goes into making magnets, which has been cultivated around the world in this last, say, 50 years, is passed on to future generations. So you are now 81 years of age. I hope that you don't spend all your time working. So can you tell us about your hobbies today?
Okay, my hobby is appreciating art, but I can't always go to the museum. I spend a lot of time thinking about work and the content of lecture I am asked to give. The more time I spend thinking, the better my brain works and the more good ideas I come up with. In the time I have left, I would like to successfully develop and commercialize the complete net shape process for neodymium boron sintered magnets. I will also succeed in several other important themes.
Well, I'm truly impressed by your dedication to neodymium iron-boron magnets. So finally, would you like to say a few words about the role that your wife has played in your success as a researcher?
Okay, as an exemplary wife in the traditional Japanese style, she provided excellent support and contributed to my success as a researcher. The invention of the neodymium boron magnet is a collaboration between her and me, in the sense that without her support, I would not have been successful.
Okay. So I'd like to thank you for the time and effort that you've put into preparing for this interview today. I wish you much success in your ongoing projects, and I do hope that you make some time for art appreciation. So, arigato gozaimasu.
Okay, thank you very much. Arigato.
Thank you. And we'd also like to thank some people at Daido Steel who have helped us in carrying out this interview today. Thank you very much. Arigato gozaimasu.
Arigato.